Good morning, beautiful people. How are we all today? I hope you're all well. So today I wanted to have a chat about spiritual awakening and how it's different for everybody, and just talk about my experiences in meditation, my journey. I have done a video on my journey and a little bit an earlier video. I can't remember which one that was called. I think it was time was up at 50 or something like that. If you can have a look at that video, it gives you a little bit more information about that, what started me on and with my journey and things like that. But today I sort of wanted to have, there's this bit of an idea that to spiritually awaken, you've got to nearly die or have some sort of near-death experience. And don't get me wrong, there's people who have, and their stories are unbelievable. Okay, they really are. But that's when you have a spiritual awakening with what I call a jolt. Okay, and often it's people that weren't on, well, we're all on a spiritual journey because we're all spiritual and we're all on a journey of life, but they weren't particularly spiritual. They weren't really, their awareness level wasn't really very there, you know what I mean? They were just sort of going through life. And often they weren't real happy people, or they had, they weren't really seeing the meaning of life in any way. They were just going through it, a little bit selfish, and then they have this experience, and all of a sudden they change. People can't believe the difference, For some people, that they might have that, like a near-death experience, or they die and come back. For others, like for myself, it's been a gradual process. So we're going to talk a bit about this today, and I've got some books that I'd like to tell you about that are very good, amazing, and they really help with making you feel like you're not alone, you're not going crazy, you are on the right track, and they change your perspective again, just listening to these stories through these books. But before we get started, I'd just like to say welcome, and I've got my cinnamon coffee here, so we've got to have that, otherwise, it's just boring, isn't it? Without coffee, and tea or whatever, what are we going to do? And I made some shortbread, Christmas Scottish shortbread. Now this isn't getting off the track, but 3 ingredients. Okay, inexpensive, the best, delicious. Oh, and I can say that because I made it. I'm going to put the recipe, my recipe. I used to send this to Scotland. I used to send this. This used to get sent over to Germany. My shortbread. It's that good. So I had to tell you about that. So before we go on, would you mind to like, share, subscribe? And we'll grow this little community, and there'll be more videos, and we can really connect. So I'd really appreciate that. And Santa Claus would like you to as well. He said that to me this morning. He rang me up and said, tell them to like, share, subscribe. It's really important. Okay, so talking about spiritual awakening. So we've all got our soul contract. And you could say, well, what's the point of spiritual awakening apart from the fact that it really makes your life that much better? The idea of awakening spiritually is to realize your purpose this time round in this journey. And it's the only journey that matters. Okay, people get stuck on past lives and the future, but this life is the one that matters, because this is the one you're in, and you come with a soul contract and a plan of what you're going to achieve and what you're going to do for the higher good, your higher good. Okay, and you're working with your higher self. So for myself, Now, I'd just like to say this, I'm not a religious person, okay? Before we go any further, I went to Sunday school and I was Anglican church. My grandmother was Anglican and she took me to church in Sunday school and all that. And I still go, you know, to Christmas and Easter and things like that. But I'm not a religious person. When I do go to church on those occasions, I find it very spiritual experience. I get very emotional because I can feel the energy of Jesus in the church. I can feel the angels. I can feel it. So it's beautiful, you know. But I don't read the Bible all the time, not saying verses. No, I'm a spiritual person. Okay. And for me, since I was probably in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, and I started my journey, my awakening has been a gradual one over years, over 20 years. And through meditations and learning, reading, you know, and we say, oh, you know, spiritual teachers. Jesus was a spiritual teacher who learned from other spiritual teachers. Okay, so we all learn from each other. And that's the beauty about these platforms now, that we're never here once. We can do this, you know. So it's really good. And for me, meditation has been the key to unlocking and taking me further along. Not just in my day-to-day life, but in actually sitting in meditation. Sorry, I shouldn't have had that biscuit. It's got stuff. Hey, doesn't always do that, but it is very nice. But oh, so I had to show you, didn't I? But anyway, so when sitting in meditation, I have had experiences where, for myself, now everyone is different. And what you don't do is compare yourself to other people's experiences, because they're your experience and they're their experiences, and we're all different. And they'll never give us more than we can handle. You know, when I say that, I think about that movie, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I don't know if anyone's seen that. And there's a crystal skull and they all wanted, you know, I want all complete knowledge. I want to know it all now. Of course they do. And they said, they warned, don't. It'll send you, you know, your head will explode. Basically, you won't be able to handle it because it's a gradual, there's so much. We'll never know it all anyway. And what happened? They kind of like exploded. They couldn't handle the power of this knowledge. So for myself, I've had some amazing experiences in meditation through connecting with others, but also what I call for myself the black zone, which is not a very good term. I'll have to come up with something better, but it's, for me, it is sort of, well, it is an out-of-body experience in that you go into a place of, I say dark zone or black zone because it's like everything else falls away. The physical falls away. You sort of leave your body in a sense, and you're like, it's like you're floating. This is my experience, okay? So it's like I'm floating, and I'm a very emotional person generally. I'm a Cancerian, so that's why sometimes I'm talking about and I start to look like I'm going to get upset. It's just that I'm an emotional person. But in this space, there's not that emotion. There is a feeling of peace and absolute and utter joy, and I can't even put it into words because joy doesn't seem like enough of a word. And just thinking of it now, I start to feel, you know, so I'm keeping myself together here. But it's like a feeling of peace and absolute and utter joy, and all time stops, and you don't hear anything of the outside world. So the clock doesn't tick, the noises, the cars, there's no sound. There's just this feeling of oneness, and you've risen above the physical world in a sense, not in a looking down, but in a just, you're not there. And there's this feeling of absolute and utter joy. Now, when I come out of that, for the rest of that day, and for a while after that, maybe to be honest, it can be a week from an experience like that where you're just, the feeling of ease and everything's in perspective more. There's a lot of downloading going on, and there's a lot of information being given to you that you don't realize is happening during that period. For me, that's what I felt. And it just everything, your whole body is balanced and aligned. But when I come out of it, there are tears streaming down my face, but I didn't feel like, it's not till I come out of it I feel overwhelmed from it, and the emotion then kicks in, and but tears of joy. Don't get emotional. So yeah, it's this feeling of, and I really think for my growth and my health and my everything, those experiences are a lot, and they know when to bring me into that. And they don't show you any more than you can handle, because I've had time, like, show me more, take me, further in, or what, and it's 11:11. Before we go any further, thank you. I put a little post on this morning, actually. It's Remembrance Day here in Australia. So it's 11, it was just 11:11, but today, 11th of the 11th. Remembering for Australia, it's at 11 a.m. we have 1 minute of quiet to remember those who've fallen, and it's all about the end of World War One. So yeah, that's okay. So just a moment there for that, just to bring that to our awareness. Okay, so yes, that is what that is for me. So everyone's different, and everyone has different experiences with meditation, through meditation. Now, there are those who aren't on that sort of growth, the awareness, and they can have a jolt in the way of not so much, we have our meditations and our visualizations and things which are, they show us things. There's people, like there's a fellow that lives in Cairns, which is not far from here. He's an author, Stephen Chong, his name is. And he fell off the roof. Okay. And I heard about his story, and he's written a book. After the event, he didn't really nearly die, but he was in a bad way, because he's not young. And they showed him, and like when I write, I'm channeling. So a lot of people, when we do any creative thing, we're channeling. If we're meant to be we're doing it right, or we're enjoying it, and it's beautiful art. So writing is a very good way to channel. And he doesn't like the word channel, because this is also a man he's not religious. Wasn't really even, he said, spiritual could be a word, but so this is someone that's just normal bloke down in Cairns, living his life, fell off a roof. And then he is a writer, but he said he'd go to write, he kept getting this title in his head, and they were showing him information, and he went on this journey and saw all the different levels in heaven. Now, some people don't like the word heaven, but that's what he was shown. And names and things would just come to him, and he's never read Bible in his life. He didn't know any of this stuff. So it's really interesting, his journey. And then there's those people who have had near-death experiences or died and come back. And probably one of the most profound stories I've personally ever heard. The doctors this isn't a very nice way of putting it, but they'd written him off, and they said to his wife, the machines have been keeping him alive for hours, days, it's over. And she wouldn't let them turn off the machines, even though, in his time that he'd passed over, he spent the time walking through heaven with Jesus. And he was given teachings by Jesus. Jesus spent time with him. And Jesus said to him, you can go back, but he said, right now, he said, your brain is destroyed, your body is destroyed, you're gone. He said, but I can make it, but you'll have to bring awareness to this. There's work to do. And he agreed. And he said it was so beautiful there. He said, why would I want to go back? But he was wanting to go back because of his wife, because he was worried about his wife. And the story, the information he received and the way he described heaven, really advisable to look into that. 44 hours in heaven, and I will put the information in the description. And the doctors couldn't believe it. They said to his wife, he's gone, he's finished. And he said, look, I'll yell at him, put your arms up in the air. And he did in the bed. And the doctor fell back because it was just... So it's one of those miracles that Jesus was showing through somebody. And this was not a very nice man. But after all this, and I'll tell you this, he didn't even have the same blood type when he come back. He was A positive or something. And he was O when he came back. Had a completely different blood type. Okay, so it's interesting. There's a lot of stories like this, but that one in particular I really like. So that was that one. And the afterlife, yeah. So, you know, everyone's situation is different. And we're all messengers, really, that are on a spiritual journey. So I just wanted to have a little video just on that today, not get too deep into it, because it is a lot to take in. And some people have some beautiful awakening stories, and then it sets you off and running on your journey. You know, and that trip home, whether it be through a visualization, a meditation, a near-death experience, they die and come back. It doesn't matter what it is on your journey. It helps to bring awareness, self-awareness, and awareness to the meaning of life. Awareness to your meaning of life, what it is for you, and what your soul contract is. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all really here for. All the other stuff, we're here to work out what we're meant to do and go and do it. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I'm not going to go on too long today, but thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe, please. I love doing this with you, and I want to keep going with it. And if you have any questions, or you want to share your spiritual experiences, I would love that. I would really love it. And it just gives me such a happy heart when you know, I hear other people's stories, experiences, you know, because we're all in this together. Okay. But yes, so have a lovely, wonderful day, and I will see you back here next time. And I'll go and have my coffee. My cinnamon coffee. Okay. Love yous. Bye.